Hello, everyone. You're welcome to Let's Discuss. Yeah, we're starting straight off. Let's be real, with ourselves. Let's be real on this topic. Many times we dread going to one-to-one meetings. We dread going to meet people or some work or some projects, not because of the work, but because of the people, because there's been disagreements, there's been constant tensions, there's been missed deadlines, and the tension sort of lingers on and on. And because it lingers on and on, it makes us be in a position whereby every conversation now becomes a painful exercise. It becomes something we don't want to even partake in because the whole conversation has gotten to a point whereby we believe in unity, we believe in collaboration. But what we are seeing is that we just wish we can do it by ourselves instead of involving all these people that are making the whole thing to be really painful. And at times it's not just fear or frustration, is the reality of being misunderstood, of conflicts, of you being tired of speaking up or being shut down multiple times without any reason, and you just feel like in order to keep the peace you need to keep your peace, and but inside you're getting worn out. In some cases it could be something even deeper. You are in a team and suddenly you feel everybody else is confident, everyone seems to have the right connection, but you are sort of in a state whereby there seems to be no help, no one you. You are feeling your contributions are not what it you then begin to get into a shape of feeling less like a teammate, but more like a, a stone, like one who is dragging the team down, like an outsider. Conversations and things are happening without you being involved. Those are the things we're talking about. So if any of this hits home, you're welcome. We will be unboxing that of the truth behind working with others, and we are not just focusing on the normal things everybody says about showing love and being peace. We want to go deeper, have practical insight so that we can share and examine this topic in a very dispassionate way, but practical in order to get the results we want. Whilst working with others might be a painful experience, we need to understand that it is one of the most powerful tools that God created to shape us. So you're all welcome to Let's Discuss, where we talk about practical matters on life and faith without any filters, where we go into the topic and approach it and say it as it is without needing to embellish anything. The aim is not to preach another sermon, but to not just lay out but to provide a compelling argument why it to transform ourselves in order to become better in life and on our journey. So you're welcome, everyone. I think there are a few comments already. Welcome. So we have our mom so who's here. Always for everyone who be here. God bless you. It's a good evening. Then we have um, Apostle. Thank you so much for all your support and encouragement. It's a good evening as well. And thank you, Professor Emeritus. Thanks for your support as well. Um, yeah, we'll make a. Okay, she said the sound is not very clear. Let me move the mic closer. I try to take the mic out so that it's not within so much of the shot, but I hope it's better now. I think hopefully we can all hear me better now. So I've moved the mic closer so that I can pick up the volume a bit more. I experimented a few times taking it out of the shot, but yeah, yeah, but we're all welcome. Today we're talking about this topic of working with others, which I believe is really important. It's, it defines our Christian race. It defines not just our Christian race, our ability to achieve a lot of things in life and in ministry. It is challenging. I wouldn't lie. There's a lot of challenge in this area. Part of the challenge, as we've stated, there are three main types of challenges, and anyone can fall into this. You discover that you want to be in a place where there is peace around you. You want to contribute to everyone, but now discover that, oops, yeah, and you now discover that despite your best endeavors, it's being understood, and I think everyone will relate to that. Okay, thank you, man. So that's better. Everyone will, you know, there's some situations you are in where it just seems there's just constant conflict. It's one conflict to the other, and you just get one out. And whilst everybody always says we know the benefits of working together, most people are not interested in working together because of the pain they've experienced, because of the challenges that they've experienced. At times, you're in a group which is supposed to be a team of people, even children of God, and you are now experiencing a lot of pain. You are seen as the outsider. You're seen as the person who is always opposing ideas. And very quickly, when you are someone who is opposing ideas, very quickly you find yourself being unpopular. Many people, as a result, have left church. And like we say on Let's Discuss, the things we're saying applies to both life and ministry. In our normal working environment, you have to work with people, you have to work with others in order to achieve a particular goal. And even in ministry, you have to work with others. So this applies to everyone. And this doesn't apply to just work alone, it even applies to family. There's family dynamics, there's ministry, there's so many other things. So, where we've got to is that we all know the problem, we all know the benefit as well. Uh, but the challenge now is how do we get out of it? In order to understand how we get out of it, we need to understand what's the problem. So the problem is, let's break it down. Problem is that people are complicated. By people being complicated, that means even you and I, everyone's complicated. I, I wanted to draw something for this presentation to make it, I'll try and illustrate. Why are people complicated? The reason people are complicated is that, okay, the way you're looking at me now, um, before I connect to anybody else, let me try and look for something I can use to describe it. So, whilst physically we're connecting with each other and everyone's connecting it with each other, or everyone has something. Let me use this maybe for everyone has like a filter they are looking through that, whenever you see things, people look through the filter that they have. And that filter is what creates that complication. When you are saying ABC, someone's filter, and that filter could be based on their past experience, their knowledge, the information they've received, and that filter makes them interpret even the data and the information you're passing in a different way. It makes, I'll give an example of a filter. Example of a filter I was told growing up by some people who were uninformed was that there's a particular tribe that they love money. There was even a particular tribe we were told were promiscuous. And as a result, everybody you see based on that information, you apply that filter. And that filter, funny enough, it's not just to ourselves. We even apply that filter to God because when we are engaging with God, engaging with God's promises, have our own beliefs whereby we have an understanding of or expectation of how God will react or how God should act. And there are some people who will interpret the Bible in a totally different way between Mr. A and B, which is why we have different denominations. So people are complex. People are, you know, complex, complicated. People have had lots of experiences in the past. So when you are talking logically, that okay, this is it. The person already has a feeling. Like I said, we ourselves, even me myself, have a filter, which is why God will help us to constantly improve ourselves. We have some things which we believe, those things because see things in a different way. Whilst working with others, we need to understand that people are bringing up, past wounds, communication gaps, blind spots, unclear vision, disappointments, hurts, fear, and even greed, worry are all bringing it into the equation. And when we begin to understand that, we begin to understand why so difficult working with others because there will be different ego clashes. So people believe it should be done in this way because based on their field, the way they're saying it is the right thing. Others would say, no, it shouldn't be. And in many cases, dynamics just get a bit toxic. Even in family relationships, there are situations where even when you have different children, they have different ways of looking at different things. And that's because of the filter. Everybody has a filter. The challenge for us now is to understand which filters, one, inwardly, we have that is preventing us from working effectively with us, and understanding what filters people have. I wouldn't ask us to dedicate a lot of time to understanding people's filters because, like I said, people are so complicated. You might spend 500 years not understand their filter. But it's good to have an understanding that people have their own filters and you may not fully understand what that filters is. And herein lies the challenge. That is the environment. That's the way God has created it. Even there is that principle of opposites attract. When you look at most marriages, you see that both partners are opposites. Then you begin to say, but God, why are you creating a mess here? Why are you putting me in a team with people that don't think like me, that don't walk like me? Even in marriage, even in relationships, workplace, you would find yourself surrounded by people who, in many cases, may not even think like you. But it's part of God's plan to develop us because what working with others, at times we look at it more from the productivity point of view, but God at times looks at it from a transformation point of view. Um, it took me a couple of years to realize that there's a difference between being a manager and a leader. There's a difference between being a manager, a leader. Unfortunately, we have very few leaders. Why is that? A manager is someone that everybody you want people to work in a particular way, you support people, people have to do things in a particular way. But a leader is someone who has the ability to walk across different people, different personalities, which is why leaders are in short supply. So we've gone back to one of the reasons why we have this situation. The reason we cannot change that situation. So if we're expecting a day would come where you are working in teams or working with people who get you, who think like you may have a long wait. I'll say that again. If you're trying to wait for a time where everyone you work with would be like you or get you or understand you, or even you understand them, you would have a long wait because the whole purpose of leadership and the whole purpose of working with others is our ability to transform ourselves as a result of the experience. There isn't any benefit. There is no way you can get the fruit of patience or develop suffering if you've not been tested on challenges that will test that. You can't say patient man if you've got challenges. You few different people, they'll tell you things. Some people say there's just one thing about me. But 2 weeks later, the same person said there's this one thing about me. And you now wonder how many one things do you have about you? I'll use a Bible story to begin to illustrate. Let's look at someone like Nehemiah. He had to work with people. He heard the walls are broken. He didn't have any qualification, but he had a vision and he motivated. Unfortunately, this has also been a challenge, a misconception that we have been told and sold that once you have a passion, once you have a vision, people will rally around you. I sort of realized, not too late, but later on in life, that that is false. The fact that you have a vision, a compelling vision, a compelling argument, doesn't mean that everyone would have the same argument. There's a need for us in working with others, and we'll go through the three things we need to know. Because Nehemiah had that vision. He knew he couldn't rebuild the walls alone. He needed priests, he needed goldsmith merchants, he needed men, women, he needed people who would mold the blocks. He needed a particular different skill set, a lot of people. But he didn't just go and say, look, I want to work with all these people. He was able, for one, which is one of the points we'll go to, he was able to realize that there are three secrets to working with others. There is the fourth one, which I'll talk about as well, because sometimes the limitation of talking about things like this is painting everything as being rosy, painting everything as being do this and it will work out. But there's a reality of sin where no matter what you do, no matter the techniques you use, there would be some people who would refuse to work with you or you decide not to work to. So Nehemiah provided us with a master class. He was able to cast his vision clearly and would talk about what he did. The first thing was he signed the rules strategically. He assigned it. And the first thing we understand when we're talking about um I don't know why I'm sweating so much. When we're talking about leadership and making people working with others, the first thing we need to realize is that people are not problems to fix. You can't fix people. There's a saying that you can't change people, but we often gloat under that because we're always hoping that people will eventually change. People's are not problems to be fixed. The mysteries to keep learning. We cannot stop learning people. Why? Because people will grow, people will shift, people will change, and every collaboration requires fresh grace, fresh insight. So, number one, in terms of how to work effectively with people, we need to realize, in terms of the practical key, the first key which Nehemiah used was to clarify expectations. That and that clarification of the expectation is not limited to you clarifying what people should do, is you clarifying your own expectations. At times, we work with others that don't even fully understand why we're working with them. We don't understand what are we going to get out of it. We don't understand what would be the benefit to us. There is a need for us to always clarify the expectation. There was someone when we were in a choir group many years ago, the person was always recommending changes, recommending what needs to be done. And I remember that our master just turned around and said, look, your duty or the expectation for you is just to sing in this choir. I make the rules. If you have any ideas, tell me. I may like them, I may not like them. So the choir master has laid his stall out to say, look, I'm clarifying the expectations that you have to follow. We most times, when working with others, we go in with our own expectations or with no expectations, which is about the same thing. Many times we just want to make a difference and we wholeheartedly jump on something or where we find ourselves to make the difference, but we've not clarified, am I going to grow through this? What would be the benefits? How would I support? Is my input needed here? Is my goal to grow here, or do I just want to, just follow what everyone's doing? That clarification of expectation isn't just inside of you. It's not you just thinking about it. You need to now reach out and ask the question of people of the group, that what exactly is my role? What exactly are you expecting from me? What do you want me to do? And I know how to do it. I need to understand clearly. When you begin to clarify expectation, it begins to lift the veil in terms of what people are expecting. What you most likely are expecting is not what they're expecting. And there's a need for us to be able to have those clarification conversations, because that 5 minutes clarification can save 5 years of frustration, whereby you are thinking your role, your expectation is to make a difference. Whereas they are not interested in anyone making a difference. Their responsibilities, you just come and do what you have to do and get out. The second thing, and I had a few points which I put here, that the second thing is the need very clear about asking questions, assuming the best, but ask questions when something seems off. There's some, yeah, I made some exception section and shared some scriptures here, which I think would make us. And one of the things I want to hammer on, when you're working in a group, there would be the tendency for you to hear lots of gossip about you, people saying things about you in a bad way. When you begin to listen to those things, it makes you adapt to them. It makes you become bitter. And we need to learn that whenever you're working in a group, always assume the best. Always assume that this person cannot be that evil. This person cannot mean me that harm. But ask questions. Begin to ask, oh, you did this, you said this. I don't really understand. Because When you begin to ask those questions, even if the person had a different or ulterior motive, they are trying or think about it. Most times, what we think people are doing wrong could be things that are inherent to them. It could be things they have grown up with, it could be things they are used to doing. And when they begin to do it, they may not even know that they're creating any offense. You are now there being upset, having to read Psalm, having to drink a lot of cold water before you can go to bed. We need to be able to ask questions. We need to be able to say, I don't understand this. Please clarify. When you observe that shift, it begins to help with your ability to work with others. It begins to make them feel valued as well because they now see you as someone who is making assumptions. They may talk about you behind your back. They may go and tell people what you've said, but you have said what you need to do. You've clarified, and if they lie, with time you'll be able to discover that this pattern has continued. What's going on here? The third thing, before I talk about the third thing, I just want to think. Um, so please, anyone, feel free to share, and I would also like to get other views as well um, from people because we still have the third practical key for relationship to talk about, as well as the fourth one. We've talked about, you know, making sure that we are able to clarify our expectations. If you don't clarify your expectations, you'll be somewhere, and things will be happening. You'll be feeling upset, not because of what people are doing, but because you have not clarified what you are expecting from working with those others. You've not clarified your rules of engagement. We now said also always assume the best. There will be people saying things about you behind your back, and we share some scriptures about how, as a leader, um, let me even post that again. As a leader, we might need to ignore those things, even though it might be painful, even though it might be hurtful. It says when a leader listens to malicious gossip, everybody will get affected with evil. Um, so we have to ensure that as a leader, we are not listening to bad gossip about ourselves because it would make us react in ways that we don't want to. Okay, I think there's a few comments here. Okay, oh, we have Minister Steve, and by grace of God, we play your song towards the end. And I'll talk about it later. And thank you for attending. Then we have this as well. It's the honest, okay, discussion and clarity of roles and responsibilities sometimes help. I agree. And the roles and responsibility, I want us to be careful as well because it can end up in a trap if we're not careful. At times, the people's expectation of you is more than what you want to deliver. Some people would expect you to be there 24 hours, and all you're willing to commit is 4 hours. Therefore, having those clarification, like you said, is good to understand roles and responsibilities, but you should be flexible enough in terms of making sure that you are not now trapped into it. You should be able to say, okay, yeah, this is what we are giving up. We're working together on this project. This vision sounds good. Let's do it together. I'm not able to commit to this and that. And setting those expectations will help because the other person will then know that, okay, I can't really plan around this person all the time and would seek alternatives rather than him having that expectation that you'll be there all the time. But the flip side of it is that at times some people are very, very demanding. And if you don't set your boundaries and have your expectations mapped out, their plans and agenda will just sweep you away like a flood. You need to ensure that when you're working with others, you have that in the back of your mind. That am I developing what I'm planning to achieve from this? Am I achieving it or not? So those are key things for us to note. The third key, which I believe is maybe the most important, is we need to focus on our own contributions and not of others. We cannot control another person's energy. We cannot control another person's um, feel. We cannot control other people's follow through. We can't control the way they reason about a particular challenge. We cannot control their credibility or their ability to stick true and deliver what they've said. But what you can do, you can control how you show up. You can control how you think and how you respond. You can control your own contributions. For you to move forward in love and excellence, there's a need to realize that people will always have different views. Some people might be really hot, 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 hot on something, and you are hot, 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 and suddenly they get cold. There could be circumstances beyond even their control. It could be their belief that their expectations are not being met. It could be 1 million reasons. Therefore, when you're working, there's a need for us to understand that we can't control others, but that mindset will take us out of a lot of frustration. And the last point, which I would emphasize on, is we have to be real as well. At times it's not working. At times you've done your best. At times you are even the problem. At times it's you're the problem. Maybe your expectation is not being met. Maybe the reality of what's going on in sync with what you are expecting. Maybe try to create a harmonious relationship, but the tension would not break, rather is escalating. Maybe the dynamics of the team means that you're constantly being belittled. That's now affecting your emotional states, your even your spiritual, physical mind. Or it could be that the people you're working with, the leader, isn't growing. At that point, there is a need to reconsider that relationship. You have to, but exit with grace. Don't exit in a way that will friction. And I'll explain that there's a caveat around that. A friend of mine once told me this, and I've never forgotten it since he told me. He said, keep your words tender. That is, keep your words soft because you don't know if you have to eat them in future. There's a need for us to keep our words soft, even if the relationship, the working, the arrangement is not working. There's a need for us to keep our words soft. There's a need for us to ask ourselves the question that do I need to shift my role or just shift my response? Is it something I need to maybe break my level of participation, or do I need to just change the way I'm responding to things? We need to ask ourselves that question because guess what? If you don't make that adjustment, it's you working with others, not others working with you. You still have that responsibility to make that decision. Not every team is meant to be forever, and you shouldn't stick to something that it's no longer working, something that your expectation is no longer being met, something that no one is even listening to your contributions. But let's take a step back. Why does all this matter? Like I said, it's not about product, it's about transformation. Many times, God wants us to experience different people so that we can grow. Let me give you an example. There are people, if you've read the book about spirit control temperaments, you can see that there he puts, temperament into four parts. One, the cholerics, people who are the go-getters, the phlegmatics, people who care about people, the melancholic, people are really quiet. I know we know some of those, but they're very creative or brilliant. The last one we have, okay, cholerics, phlegmatic, melancholics. Yeah, I think I've named and the sanguine, very social. When you see them, they are the life of the party. When they enter a place, everybody knows them. We all have different personality types, but yet, in my experience, I've only seen very few instances of where partnerships, even marriages, where you have people of the same temperament. God creates those opportunities for us to work with different people because He wants us to learn different things, to become more rounded, to have a better understanding of life, and to become more developed as an individual. Someone who is, for example, a sanguine who is very bubbly, most times they don't have that ability to you know timelines. They don't want to keep to what they promised. If they now marry someone who is maybe like a phlegmatic who cares for people, sanguine might just want to do everything, but the phlegmatic will say, no, but you didn't consider this. You have to think about the people. You can see that in that way, everyone is becoming better. The challenges and the frictions we have, I think we need to ask ourselves a very important question. And that very important question is, am I not enjoying, do I enjoy working with people who are like me only and do not like working with people who are not like me? Let me rephrase that. The most important question we need to ask ourselves is, do I only enjoy working with people who are like me? Because if you only enjoy people who are like you've entered into the managerial role, and there's a need for us to be able to work with everybody. So I'll just open up for contributions. Everyone's been a bit quiet today. Um, I hope it's about respecting the differences, respecting that, teamwork is not just um, about functional deliverables. It's about even our own personal formation. Uh, So, want to get a few contributions from everyone. Any contributions from people? I just want to encourage us that let's not retreat from collaboration. It's going to be painful. It's going to be, we might have been deceived. We might have a filter in front of us due to things that we have experienced, due to betrayal, due to people hurting us, due to people lying, people backstabbing. But we have to move beyond because two, the Bible even said it about two having better reward. The world is in need of leaders, and we cannot become leaders if we can only work with people like ourselves. We need to be able to work different people. We need to be able to learn from different people. We need to be able to learn from different interactions. We need to clarify the expectation. We need to ask questions. We need to focus on our own contribution. And when we do all, if the relationship is still not moving forward, we have to now make a decision that we change our role, we change our response, but we have to do it with grace. Since there's no contributions from anyone, I would like to hear some contributions. Deliberately, we've kept it quite practical today. That it's not about a lot of things people say, have patience, have this. It's about the practical tools. But what the formation will teach us long suffering, patience, teaching us the ability to be able to be leaders. And that's what God wants. Even in this generation and age, God wants more leaders. He wants us to be people who will be out there making the difference. Jesus was a leader. He was able to gather fishermen, people who were hardened of all different walks of life, tax collectors, and walked with them. Um, Abraham was a leader. He was able to gather different people, even Lot, who was working with him, he, who was his nephew. He walked with them without any issues. David was a leader. God has called each of us to be a leader. There's a need for us to learn these three things about the expectations and to be able to be better, to move forward. Okay, I think there's a contribution here. Okay, thank you. This, Pastor Nick says, sorry, I'm on the road. I'll contribute later. Okay, man, no problem. Yeah, so we'll begin to wrap up. I believe that we've been blessed today, even though there's been few contributions. Um, there were a few leadership lessons I wanted to share. If this has resonated with you, please share with us. Maybe share the video or share the things you've learned with them. And if you're working with others and you've not clarified your own expectations, you've not clarified what the expectations of you is, you can see where there will be that friction where a person might be unhappy with the relationship. And if you don't ask questions, or you're in a culture where you're working with others and they say no questions asked, there's a need for you to begin to explore whether that is the right relationship or the right working group for you to be in. But always assume the best. Never think of the worst. Don't listen to bad gossip about yourself. It will change your disposition towards that person. And in many cases, many of those gossip. So, and people bringing bad gossip to you are usually bringing it for a particular purpose, and that purpose is not to build up the team, it's to tear down the team. And we talked about you focusing on your contribution, doing as much as you can do, and not expecting others to perform the way you perform. Focus on your contribution, not on others, because there could be a lot of reasons um, whilst, while they're not performing so much at that point. Okay. Um, yeah. So Pastor Nick said at times, so many people, some people want everyone to be like them, and that's not possible. Yes, that's so true. And I need to confess to this as well. It's something that I have struggled with personally for years. You always expect till today. It's something that I'm working on as well. That's not about people, everyone being like you, about making sure that you are able to work with people and deliver what you need to deliver. So I'll leave us with this that, go clarify, don't assume, set wise boundaries, build something beautiful, not just with yourself, with others. When you build with others, it's much more effective. God has called us into leadership, and one trait of a leader is the ability to work with people across different temperaments, different walks of life, motivations, so forth and so. But if we don't, all we end up doing is working with people like ourselves, which is a limitation, which makes us managers, not leaders. Um, in wrapping up, okay, there's one more comment here from Minister Steve. Said, leadership comes with a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes it may even require to put off yourself at a disadvantage to get everyone on. I agree. This is the whole essence of leadership. At times, you have to make those decisions that you would not have made normally. You have to make things and accommodate people. The world needs leaders. The church needs leaders. Your industry needs leaders. The world needs leaders, and you are one. Let's develop that trait. And you'll be shocked that when you are able to develop that skill, people, even in your workplace, begin to look up to you. They would see a different person because they know that you are not judgmental. They'll be able to come to you, talk to you about things, and you'll be surprised about how quick you start getting promotions, even in ministry everywhere. And God will help us in Jesus' name. So I want to leave us with a particular music. So thank you everyone for contributions, and it's been very powerful. Thank you so much. I want to leave us with this music, which was done by Mr. Stephen Rikuto from in Kebbi. One of the things about working with others is that you begin to see that there is the power of God flowing in a different area, in a different way, in a different avenue. And when you now begin to experience that power, it's good to, oh, thank you, sir. Oh, thank you, Professor Emeritus. Thank you so much. Um, yeah. So I want to leave us with this song by Minister Stephen. I sent a message to a few people, and this is what we said, working with others. A few people responded, some people didn't. But one of the things we want to start doing more in God's praise is begin to work with others. You know, we've been working with others level. We want to start having partnerships rather than trying to do everything by ourselves. So I sent a message out to a few people, but he responded with a song, and I'll play it for us. It's in Hausa, but can feel the, the power, the and you can see the love, you can see the anointing in that song. So I'll play it for us shortly and we'll end with it. But I want to encourage us all that please don't ignore what I've said. The reality of it is every day, whilst we pray to God, we are surrounded by people, and the impact we make determines the impact we make in life. The impact we make on people's life determines the impact we make in life. So, thank you all. Have a great week. And leave us with this ministration. It's so powerful, and I want to thank um, you know, um, Minister Stephen Rikoto for this beautiful piece. And we'll be sharing it on our social media platform this week as well. So I'll let it play, and I'll stay around maybe 1 2 minutes after it is played if anyone wants to contribute. And if not, we'll just close and call it a day. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, 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 oh. Rayuwan da nake da shi, kai ka bani shi, kai ka bani shi kyauta. Ceton da nake da shi, kai ka bani shi, kai ka bani shi kyauta. Arzikin da nake da shi, kai ka bani shi, kai ka bani shi kyauta. Hikimar da nake da shi, kai ka bani shi, kai ka bani shi kyauta. Na gode, Yesu na gode, na gode, Yesu na gode, na gode. Yesu na gode
sing it again.
rayuwar da nake da shi
Oh Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta ceton da nake da shi
Yesu, kai ka bani shi.
Yeah, so it will be on our social media pages if you want to know the meaning to the songs or to the word, the lyrics. It's really powerful. So just follow us on our social media platform and you'll have it this week. So thank you, everyone. Have a great week. And let us give ourselves a challenge this week. Write down the 5 people that you don't really like their approach. Write it down. Write it down. And when you write it down, begin to think. It could be 5 people, it could be 5 teams or 5 areas you're working. Write it down as a challenge. Write it down. Write them down. Then write specifically what your expectation is. And next, call them and speak to them and try to understand their expectation. You will be surprised that they have a different expectation to what they're expecting, and your own expectation of them might be different. So write it down. 5 relationships, 5 working situations that is not working out. Do that. Then, secondly, like we've said, make this practical. Begin with, 3 people you don't get along with because of the malicious gossip, because of something you've been told about them. Write it out and try and reach out to them to ask clarifying questions. Then the final thing is consider what your own contributions is, and are you doing the best you're supposed to? If not, improve on your quality of delivery. But for others who are in working relationships, when you've done all your analysis and it's just not working, it's toxic, it's not getting you anywhere, rather, it might get you 6 feet. It's time to go to the exit. Remember, the world needs leaders, but you shouldn't be a leader based on your expectation. It should be a joined up expectation. You might have a great vision, but you need in order to achieve it. God needs leaders. The world needs leaders. You are a leader. It's time to arise and shine. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Leave us with that song in closing as well. And God bless you all. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Oh,
rayuwar da nake da shi kai ka bani shi kai ka bani shi kyauta ceton da nake da shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta arzikin da nake da shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta hikimar da nake da shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi kai ka bani shi kyauta na gode Yesu na gode na gode Yesu na gode na gode Yesu na gode na gode Yesu na gode
sing it again.
rayuwar da nake da
Oh
shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta ceton da nake da shi
Yesu, kai ka bani shi.
kai ka bani shi kyauta arzikin da nake da
Oh
shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta
hikima da komai.
hikimar da nake da
Oh
shi
Yesu,
kai ka bani shi
kai ka bani
kai ka bani shi kyauta na gode Yesu na gode Yesu nagode,
Nagode,
nagode, Yesu nagode, nagode, Yesu nagode.
nagode. Karbi yabo, karbi ɗaukaka, karbi sujada Yesu kai ka bani rai kyauta. Karbi yabo, karbi sujada, karbi ɗaukaka Yesu kai ka bani rai. Oh,
Nagode, Yesu nagode,
nagode,
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 nagode, Yesu nagode.